Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I'm on chess.com and I just got paired up playing a 5-0 game. So let's see what we get. An e4 e5 game. Okay. Let's go with a Scotch opening. Probably play more Roy Lopez than anything, but let's give this a whirl. Queen h4, bishop c5. Okay. Let's go with the capture. Expecting queen b6 now. Ooh. Well, queen f6 was a move, and probably more common than this. So, they just damaged their queenside structure. So what do I want? I want a king and pawn endgame, and then I could put this 4 versus 3, healthy 4 versus 3 majority in motion. So where to deploy my pieces? That's a pretty early queen exchange. Let's see. Well, I think this is a good start because it also interferes with a good post for the light square bishop. And do I want a castle? I don't think I do. I'm going to step up. I'm assuming they're preparing bishop there. And I'll actually have a decision to take or just back up. So this was my idea. This structure controls the knight. I'm also preparing bishop here. I could start with rook to d1 or bishop here. Here's another thing. Maybe I would like to do this and put my knight on b3. Yeah, let's try for this. I'll just immediately exchange, and I want to see where this bishop's going to go. So they're considering taking with the pawn. Yeah. Interesting. Alright, let's ask the bishop a question. If bishop back a4, a5, a4 either grabs some more space or they stop me and place a pawn on a dark square and I could potentially target it. If the pawn is on a5, I might reposition my knight to c4. I have to be on the lookout for this maneuver into f4. Okay, they made a move. I didn't see it. Well, here's another thing. I could go with this and have this pawn locked down in the structure, and now trade dark square bishops. And a knight on this square, it's not quite a hole, but in a way, because I have a pawn on a5, it is. It'll be difficult to kick a knight off of the c5 square for as long as I keep my rook on the a file. So they're combating this idea of knight c5. I think now is a good time to change the structure, and I'm doing this to just stop the knight from posting up on e5. And I should probably keep my pawn on f4. And we're going to recapture. So I have a 2 versus 1 now. And maybe I give up on the a file. Now let's go with this rook here. Still keep my a rook around in case I do get here and, maybe if the a file opens up with b6. So let's see. How do they continue to improve? Let's rule out knight to g4. On this advance, I believe I'll post up on g5. They might try for something like this, creating a passed pawn. So far it's just been a lot of restriction, just preventing what it is my opponent wants to do. Many trades, of course. About a 30-second advantage on the clock, so they're struggling to come up with something. I wouldn't mind having my knight on d3 instead of b3, where he observes still c5 and has an idea of jumping into e5 at some point. So I think now I jump in here. How annoying would this be? Here and then rook to b3. See, if I go here, takes, I get a passed pawn, but I also give up this square. Maybe I jump into c5 right now. Yeah, let's jump into c5 right now. Don't know if I'm threatening to take. They will get my b pawn in return. Okay, so I could take, on B6, I could win material now. So I could first take on this square and then take here. I'm going to do that. No, hang on. If I take here, the rook will recapture, and then the rook is going to get here. So I'm going to take here first, and I imagine they're going to have to take here soon. No, they just recapture. I guess I can't take on a6. No, they're just going to exchange here. Okay, well, let's drop the knight back. They've straightened out their structure. They gained a little bit of something there, I believe. So I'm looking now to knight positions. I don't know whose knight stands better. I'd like to jump into e5. I have the better king position. That's something I can say. And let's post up here. Now that I have control over e5, I may be okay with capturing like this. The h-pawn might fall. Something like this might be right around the corner. I'm trying to fight for control over a file. To play a little bit faster. Knight on e4 hits with the tempo on c6. And let's get here straight away. Not necessarily threatening to push, but I may want to go pawn hunting. Offsetting knights. I have a third ranked knight, they have a second ranked knight. Let's step up here for starters. And do I have any tricks? I'm going to step over here. Yeah, I want to kind of box out the rook. If I do go in for this exchange, I want my king controlling squares on the g file. That move. Takes, I have a check. They have everything under control, though. Oh, here's maybe another plan. How about rook here? And I go on the other side of the board. If this, I'll play this, even though my knight is a bit insecure. I just want to lock down on this structure some. He's unprotected now. Interesting battle. I do not like my time situation. This was my other idea. Try and hunt this pawn down, although they have that check. Let's return. I missed that idea. Yeah, they were able to take advantage of the pin and strike at e4. Okay. Knight-specific endgame. Here I take, rook takes pawn, and I return to this square and force a rook exchange. So this is back to a not-so-healthy structure. Very, certainly a position where you really have to calculate well to defend my knight. Get to take here and be on this knight. Are they going to return, put pressure on my g-pawn? Could maybe think about pushing him, but he has that. Let's just make a bit of a waiting move. Stop a4. There's a fight going on over the f4 square, evening out on the clock. Let's get over. There isn't a check now. I could force a rook exchange still. Okay, even now. With this. And I'm going to take with the king, I believe. Yeah, because I want to keep an outside pass pawn. Let's step up one. Got to come back to defend here. This should be better for me. Alright, let's come over here. I don't think they could get these advances in. Let's step up. That isn't really working. Well, let's give this check. Yeah. And let's go here. How to make progress. I was willing to give up this pawn in order to go this direction. I am not going to be in time. Oh no. I'm not in time. Yeah, this is way too slow. They could keep pushing. Okay, no, I don't want to go there. I'm going to try for this. And maybe I could somehow save this. Oh, it's still kind of tricky for black, I believe. This knight is a very good defender. Yes, he is a tricky guy. Are they going to move? Wow. What a game. I wonder if I'm actually winning this. Because one thing I can say is that there is an eventual knight check that will facilitate this final advance. And there isn't any good check for black in this position. I totally forgot about this idea where white could push through to create a passed pawn, giving up some material in order to do so on the queen side. It was very well timed. Yeah, my king was just a little too far away. I don't think I was able to track that guy down. I pushed. Yeah, so if I just try to run in for it now. Yeah, I should have been aware of this. With my king being on so far away. Takes. Here. Yeah, I'm just not in time. It's just not working out. Let me bring up the analysis board and we'll just dive right in here and see what more we can take away from this interesting endgame. Okay, here we go. Before I look at the beginning, I just want to see what this ending is saying. Okay, this is winning for black with, well, I played b6 and king e7. King e7, and then I probably would have just pushed queen d6, so definitely not winning. Queen here is the save, but I believe if black doesn't go in for king e7, if they just bring the queen back, it might be a draw or a win for me. Yeah, there you go. It's saying a draw with b7. Yeah, it's definitely really close. They have to go in for a check. And, well, right around this point, can't I at least promote and get a queen? So apparently this is going to be a draw, but it's black who has to be more accurate. They have to find the point where it is a draw and then win that type of ending that I just showed, where I have a queen and a pawn plus. Should have never got to that point. But okay, there's just I wanted to touch on that ending. I was too curious to see if I just wanted to know if it was winning or a draw. Really close there. So yeah, typically after this capture, I'm used to seeing queen f6, just ignoring the capture and not going uncastled, basically. Only here first, throw a punch at f2, and after, let's say, queen f3, you could go in for the capture on c6, d takes c6, and at least you're not uncastled. But yeah, this was pretty unusual to me. As mentioned, I'm only thinking about now of trading some pieces and one day trying to play against this majority. I have a healthy king side majority. They have an unhealthy queen side majority. So, bishop c4, king there. I don't know if there's going to be too much in the middle game to really cover. I don't think there'll be many shifts. Knight f6 and f3 is pretty standard. Two pawns control the knight. Okay, I went in for this idea. Knight into b3. And, yeah, I kind of gave up on this idea to back up and keep the tension between the bishops, hoping one day for maybe a capture, and then I would have some play on the a file. I was leaning more towards what happened in the game, where I kind of grabbed some queenside space, pushed my A pawn down. So knight to B3, knight C4. And where does it want to go with the bishop? Bishop to B6. I think A4 is pretty thematic. A4 and A6. The other option, you place the pawn on a dark square. He's potentially vulnerable. It may be the case that I gain control over an open file, because this would now require the support of a rook and bishop to defend, whereas I could allocate 2 minor pieces to the defense of A5. So in a way, it's like 6 points are putting pressure on something that requires 13 points of defense. So that'll mean somewhere else on the board I'm likely favorable. So A6, keeping the pawn off of a dark square. A5, I'm putting my pawn on a dark square. He's potentially a target to the bishop, but not so much. I mean, because I have this as an idea to trade the dark square bishops off at this point and try to play against the structure. But they pushed through. I shouldn't have allowed that B6 move to happen so easily. So I wonder if I could have made an adjustment when things now shifted towards the king side some. So what did I do here? I controlled E5. It wants to go with knight C1. Oh, that's interesting. So keeping the structure as is and maybe repositioning the knight to D3. Much better square than B3. And I don't allow any opening up on the king side so quickly. Okay, so that's an interesting point. So still keep the structure as is, go for a little maneuver. Things have calmed down some. I can watch over C4 as well as soon as my knight is moved. If knight to E5, I do have B3, if this is a concern. And actually it wouldn't even be. My knight on D3 controls B2, so I could allow knight to C4 and kind of sit. This is a really, really good knight. And defends B2, stops entry points along the D file if that was ever an issue. Black doubling up, and maybe I could even look to clamp down on the king side structure some with my H pawn. It's a slow battle, but I'm the better side here from a structural standpoint. That's the key difference. And maybe a direct result of having the better structure is that I could find a better post for my king. I think having the favorable structure here implies that I'll acquire a better king position. Give him a boot, step up. I know it's a third-rank king versus only a second-rank king, but that still counts for something. These are just this is a position type where it's a game of inches, and they add up. So I went right in for E5, and then G5. It does like, and things are now opening up here on the king side. I wanted to keep control over this, so G3 is there. Takes, and I recapture. Rook G8. Yeah, I mean, it's not even, it's just hovering around a half pawn advantage. Rook H to G1. And what does it want to do? King F7, knight to F6, H3. No, knight to C5. Okay, so I guess I'm winning out on some pawn hunting variation. Knight C5, knight G4. My king moves, they take the H pawn, I take the B pawn. I wanted to go with a more controlled line. It's something to work out more if you have some more time, but I was more of a keep things in control, guard a square, don't even allow knight to G4. This is fine as well. It's not a critical type of position where I have to go in for knight to C5. I have choices. So this is where I played. I did go in for knight to C5 here. It does like that move. And now B6. So right around here, what could I have done different? Ah, you dummy. I don't have to take. I miscalculated right around this point because I thought I was going to be winning a pawn with this, and then I take the A pawn. But they're getting this guy, and this one's pretty far advanced. He's immediately passed, and while material will be even, black all of a sudden becomes better because they have a passed pawn, and that's a super valuable passed pawn, especially in knight endgames. Having a passed rook pawn, the knights hate having to defend a passed rook pawn. So I just miscalculated here with thinking I was going to win a pawn, forgetting that in the end there's a rook to g3 move if I'm pulling the rook off of the a file. So I should not capture. I should keep this tension and play knight to d3. And this is still an unhealthy structure, and one where with a little bit more preparation at some point maybe I do take and then capture, and there really wouldn't be any fear of this. This is just way too weakening. So yeah, I should have just dropped back to d3. That's an improvement for me instead of capturing on b6. Still likes white here, but knight d3 immediately is better. I played knight to d3 here. Yep. So it still likes white. King position, knight position is good. So where did it shift? Does it like rook to g5? Doesn't like rook to g5. I should have jumped into e5 right now. Improved my knight. Yeah, now it's tricky. It still likes me here. But still keeping the structure as is. Improve the knight and throw a punch at c6. c5. What is it like after here? Rook to g5 only now. Let's see. Rook g5 takes. If the knight goes to d7, I think it did pop out like that for a second. This is, I think I just know how to win this. My king sneaks over here. Yeah, this is much more clear to me. This rook and pawn endgame, better king position. And I already have a passed pawn. Okay, so knight to e5 was another improvement here, instead of rook to g5 straight away. Okay. So they took, I recaptured. And we're basically almost at the end here. King f4, now I played rook to g1. Maybe that got me into some trouble. Maybe I should go straight in for this, even with the knight still on the board, but yeah, it is tricky. As we saw, rook g4, and do I have anything here? Knight to b4, I was not even on the radar. Going pawn hunting. Okay, king f3, a little bit of floundering right around this point. c5, I'm just backing up. I'm trying to get this in, but I don't know if I could really do that. Maybe the computer will say it's okay. With c4. And they improved the king. King g4, knight to f6. Is that a good move? Yeah, it's a good move. And if I take here, oh, they don't even have to take right away. They can insert a check. That's a nice little maneuver. I was thinking you'd take on e4 straight away, but this is much more forceful. Yeah, and I mean, I've connected past pawns, but my king is kind of awkward now. Oh, and look at the follow-up idea. This is another important detail. They can pick up the g pawn. I take the knight, they take my rook in 2 moves. Alright, that's an interesting sequence. Yeah. So now it's just evenish. Knight h5 and rook g4. Yeah, I don't think I voiced it in the game, but I didn't want my rook to be cut off from the defense of the pawn, so if I don't play rook to g4, that's what couldn't happen, and I'll just drop the pawn for nothing. So rook g4 ensures I keep this defended and I put some pressure on the pawn. They're hitting my knight now. Gotta go over to defend. My knight has no good forward moves. He's keeping pressure here, but yeah, other than that, not too much. And now he requires some support. So he goes back. B3. And I mean, it's just probably a drawn position if we sit. But I went for something right around here. Okay, it does like me. This is, I guess, a winning idea to take the pawn, but I have to be a bit more mindful of this pawn break, so an instructive moment coming up with the rook exchange. I guess better. No, I guess in the end it's just even. Rook takes. It does like taking with the king. And I guess this is going to be a draw, but yeah. Who knows how it plays out, how it would play out with the knight still on board. Knight to e8. And I push. And where does it change? Knight f6, king f3. Let's see. Yeah, I'm overcommitting here, I think, after I drift over towards the king's side. Because this knight, I wonder if they had it in their mind already to kind of watch out for my passed pawns with this kind of idea. Yeah. Because, yeah, when I have these passed pawns on the queen side, he's around to defend, and this A pawn is just so fast. So now it thinks I'm winning at this point after king g6. h5 check, I did that. And what's the winning attempt to just push? King to h4. Oh, I guess this is Zugzwang. King h4, my knight isn't far away. He will be in time if black goes for something like this now. The pawn doesn't even reach the second rank safely. So I keep my knight on f4 in this move king to h4, and the king has to concede the g5 square. And also maybe I have a knight g4 move. And from g4, notice he would only be 2 steps away from controlling that promotion square. Yeah, this need more time for these kind of endgames. It's still a lot of calculation going on. Unlike bishop endgame positions, a lot is based on understanding. You don't necessarily have to calculate any specific lines. But I guess king h4, yeah, is winning. And on a knight move, I could improve my knight with check, and I'm entering. King here, as otherwise I could pick up this pawn, and yeah, I'm making progress here. And I'll be able to show that this is a big positive now. That there isn't this kind of break, but yeah, it hit at just the right moment. So I played knight to h3, and my knight is just a little too far away, and they were spot on. And just like that, it turned. So this was the point where I was winning with king to h4, and after knight to h3, I'm losing. Because my knight is just one move shy of being able to stop the eventual passed a pawn. b5, nice move. And they're breaking, they're giving up some material, but they will be getting a queen, and I just can't stop that. Yeah, and I was lucky to be able to complicate a little bit. They probably could have just moved the knight here. Well, they could still go with what they did in the game, but moving the knight is probably good too. Or is it? I guess yeah, okay, I guess this is probably clearer. Something like that, but we were both in bullet mode, and yeah, I got my knight into play, and I had some kind of coordination at least going on, and a knight right next to the king like this, it's He's a really good defender against queen checks. And they, in the end, didn't even make a move once it got to this point right here after b6. Maybe they didn't find a good way forward here. Because queen takes pawn, this is I guess one of the last variations to check out. Yeah, queen takes pawn, which might seem really natural, isn't winning. It's winning for white, because I get to push, and how do you promote? How do you stop promotion? Here, I could still push through. Knight d7 or promote right away. Queen takes queen is met with knight to d7. I take here, here, and white wins. But what an interesting game. Yeah, I think there's a lot of important things to take away from this one. Okay, well, I learned something from this. Hopefully you did as well. Feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. Hope you're having a great day, and I will catch you soon. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.